Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. Today we're checking out the Birch Grolar e-bike out here at Sandland. The Birch Grolar is somewhat of a unique e-bike in that it's designed for hunting and off-road use. It actually has two motors, so this is a two-wheel drive electric bike. It has massive fat tires, and this has a big, beefy, solid frame that's designed to carry not only a big guy like me, but also hunting gear and a deer. So this is not a typical city cruiser e-bike. This isn't even a typical mountain bike. This is designed specifically for hunting trails, back roads, logging roads, very, very off-road locations. And we've come out here to Sandland to test it out. If you're familiar with Sandland, you've seen my other videos where you have the monorail and the geodesic dome, the tunnels, all of that stuff. If you're not familiar with Sandland, you'll have to check some of those videos out. Now this is a sponsored review, so I will be putting this thing through its paces, and I will be very fair and honest with it. Just like all of my reviews, if I find any problems with the Grolar e-bike, I'll let you know about it. Alright, the Birch bike has arrived, and it is huge, or at least the package is huge. Had to get it delivered to a loading dock here at work, and normally I would do an unboxing video, but we're going to have to unbox it right here on the loading dock to have a chance of getting it back in the car. Now that I have the bike home, I do have quite a bit of installation and assembly. There are a lot of little things to put on. We have to remove the rest of the packaging, get everything set up, and getting this thing into the garage makes me really see it's much, much bigger than a regular bicycle. It's more like a dirt bike or a small motorcycle. Here's some technical specs on the bike if you're interested. I will also link to Birch's website down in the description where you can find all this info. The manual with the assembly instructions looks really straightforward, and they have a lot of great illustrations in here. And they also have videos of the assembly process on their website. The manual has been pretty accurate, although some of the steps it asks me to do were already done at the factory, like connecting all these wires. Other steps that it shows already being done, like these brackets installed on the headlight, were not done. So I have to do a couple extra steps that aren't in the manual, but they're pretty easy to figure out. I'm definitely looking forward to giving it a stress test here at Sandland because we have some very challenging terrain. For example, we have some pretty steep sections of road like this. We have a variety of twisty, winding trails through the woods. And I actually have quite a bit of heavy stuff to carry up to the top of the hill at Sandland, including some 12-volt batteries. So I think the Birch Grolar is going to be a great way to move these things around. And I think our combination of heavy load and steep trails are going to be a great test for it. So let's get started. All right, very first impressions from my first ride around Sandland, some of our back trails. It is a little challenging to steer. This thing is big, it's heavy, and steering around really tight turns, maneuvering around sticks and stuff on the ground is a little challenging just due to the weight and the balance of the thing. Now, I think that's something I would get used to over time as I use this more. I've also noticed the suspension is a little bit rough in places. Now, that is adjustable. You can put air in the front suspension, and we've got a dial to change the suspension hardness up and down. So far, it also handles uphill terrain really well. I'm just using one motor at the moment. I only have it in rear-wheel drive. It does have pedal assist or straight motor mode, so you can use it as a bike combined with the rear wheel, or as just straight electric bike where you don't pedal at all. Next, let's try carrying some stuff up a hill. This is going to be a steeper trail, a few more zigzags, and I've got the bike loaded down. I might go ahead and engage two-motor mode for this just because there are some pretty steep climbs along this section. That was a slightly more interesting run. I definitely got myself into trouble in a few spots, especially on muddy hills. I had both wheels spinning out at one point trying to get up that steep spot. The weight of it combined with the speed of the motors, it gets out from under me sometimes. So I haven't actually crashed yet, but I still have a bit of a learning curve with this thing. And if I didn't mention it before, this is actually my first e-bike and my first fat tire bike. So I'm not sure how many of the weight and balance differences are just due to the overall size of the bike versus a normal mountain bike that I'm used to. We definitely have the thing broken in now. It's got a lot of mud on it. I've got some mud on me, and we'll probably get more mud throughout the day. Now, it does have a rear fender, but it would be nice to have a front fender here to keep mud from splashing up towards the operator, towards the battery compartment. That's something they could improve in the future, would be more mud guards on the front wheel. I think it's time for the ultimate Sandland test, the road down to the tunnel. This is a steep old logging road from 100 years ago that's been kind of barely improved by a bulldozer in the last decade. And this road really tests any vehicle. Pickup trucks, all-wheel drive vehicles, ATVs, dirt bikes. This is a challenging road, so let's see how the Birch Grolar does with it. Well, I'd say this thing gets the Sandland seal of approval because it handled that road really well. Even the terrible wooden section at the bottom, that causes trouble even for a tractor. So yeah, this has faced pretty much the ultimate test that I can throw at it, Sandland's terrible road system. I did notice that it was much more controllable for me to pedal on the way up the hill, and I don't know if that's just because my balance is more natural when I'm pedaling. I don't know if it actually needed my input to be able to get up the hill. It felt like the motors were strong enough. Now that was in auto mode, so I was letting the bike's computer run the wheels for me. I did not have it in full-time two-wheel drive mode, and it seemed like it did pretty well. So yeah, I think that is a pretty good feature. I do have a few more roads and trails out here that we can test this out on, so we'll get a little bit more B-roll of it just cruising around in the woods. If you saw in the GoPro clip, I have now crashed twice. So again, it is very difficult to steer and maneuver down a narrow trail, and I was on a narrow trail on the side of a hill, so I actually tipped over going downhill, kind of fell off the bike. The bike seems to be fine. It can take some light crashes. I'm fine, I can take some light crashes. Got the old brain bucket on here, but it's definitely very difficult to go down a narrow trail with this. Otherwise, yeah, it's been working really well so far, and it is really helping me out here at Sandland. Normally, I would have to go round up the antique ATV, make sure it starts, see what kind of parts have rusted off of it, get that loaded up, get that up to the dome without rolling it over. The ATV has been rolled over a few times, and it is much more dangerous to roll over on a four-wheeler than on this thing. So while this doesn't completely replace an ATV at an off-grid property like Sandland, I think it could definitely supplement it. And then I do have more heavy stuff to carry up to the upper field, up to the geodesic dome, so we will definitely be using it as a pack mule today. And I'm actually going to try one other thing with these batteries. I'm going to be using walk mode, which lets me walk the bike at a slow speed with the motors running, up steep or muddy hills in my case, carrying a heavy load. So a couple updates to what I just told you a minute ago. The walk mode actually doesn't help walking uphill with a heavy load. It doesn't really want to start moving unless the wheels are moving. And if you're trying to push it up a steep hill, walk mode just doesn't kick in, and especially if you're also trying to brake at the same time to keep from rolling backwards. Regular drive mode works fine as long as you just give it a little bit of throttle. You don't want to give it too much throttle going uphill. You don't want it to get away from you, but just giving it a little bit works fine. And I believe there is a slow start mode in the computer menu, so you can set it so it doesn't just take out from under you if you slip or twist that throttle too hard. That's something I'll have to play around with. It definitely does help to go uphill carrying something like a heavy 12-volt battery. Just giving it a little bit of throttle. It's much easier than carrying it up by hand and way, way easier than trying to pedal it up. Well, overall, I would say I'm very happy with the Birch Grolar bike, and that's not just me saying it because they gave me a free bike. I actually like this thing. I am really enjoying driving it around out here at Sandland. I am loving the cargo carrying abilities of getting things up the hill from the parking lot, down the hill to the tunnel, back up from the tunnel. That is a difficult road. I won't even drive my car down the road to the tunnel because it's just so terrible. It beats up vehicles, and this thing is taking it like a champ. So that is really cool, and I'd say that's the biggest stress test that I'm able to give it. Anywhere in Minnesota, anywhere in Wisconsin, that is pretty much the worst road I can think of. The only problems that I've had with the Grolar are honestly just user error. Crashing it in the woods, going down a trail that's too narrow, that's my fault. Skidding out while going up muddy roads, that's my fault. I shouldn't be going uphill on a totally muddy road. Nothing's gonna make it up that. Even the ATV wouldn't make it up that. I was a little disappointed in that walk mode not being able to assist me going uphill, but it's not a big deal because you can just use the throttle for that and it works just fine. So far, this thing has taken a beating. I've gotten it muddy, I've crashed it a couple times, I've run it up and down sharp rocks, logs, trees, all kinds of debris. The tires haven't popped yet, knock on wood. I suspect these are kind of expensive tires if I do manage to pop them, so hopefully I won't, but they do seem like they're quality tires, and so far they've held up great. The suspension has been great. I did notice it being a little bouncy, but the surfaces I was going over are bouncy, and it's not uncomfortable, so that's great. All of the accessories that I've attached, the handlebar, everything that I have bolted on and clamped down has stayed clamped down. Nothing has loosened up, nothing has popped off. The handlebars haven't loosened up. That's nice. I've been on mountain bikes that have handlebars that come loose, and that's a disaster waiting to happen. So this thing seems pretty rugged. It seems like everything is holding together really well for how much I've used it so far. And now I have not tested it for weeks or months at a time, but I've used it pretty hard at Sandland today. We've gone up some really terrible roads, terrible hills, bad trails. We've bounced around, we've crashed, we've done a lot to it, and it's taken it really well so far. I think this is going to work great. In fact, I'm thinking of just leaving it out here at Sandland. I'll take the battery home, or maybe I'll set up a solar charging station. I won't use this at home because I just live in a city and you don't need something this rugged in the city. But out here at Sandland, this will be a great way to get up and down the hill, move equipment up and down the hill, carry stuff up and down the hill, and even go hunting. Once hunting season rolls around, if I want to come out here and do some deer hunting, the Birch Grolar is definitely another tool in my toolbox to do that. Would I recommend the Birch Grolar for hunting, for off-road use, for a remote property like this? Yeah, absolutely. This thing is cool, and I'm looking forward to continuing to use this long term out here at Sandland. If you would like to check this out for yourself, if you'd like to buy this or one of their other products, I will throw links down in the description where you can check those out. There'll be some coupon codes and whatnot. Thank you again to Birch for sending me the Grolar e-bike. You will probably see this in some future videos as we will be using it out here at Sandland as one of our major day-to-day tools. Finally, thank you to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.